Welcome to the Photo Banter podcast. I'm your host, Alex Gagne, and on today's podcast, I speak with photographer Yana Yatsuk. Yana has worked with clients such as Rolling Stone, Billboard, Google, and Nike, to name a few. In this interview, I speak to Yana about how she discovered photography through her interest in Pokemon as a kid, as well as photographing her friends' bands and live music shows early on. I also speak to Yana about her experience photographing Ringo, Starr, and Dave Grohl for the cover of Rolling Stone, and how she approaches editorial portraiture. I've been following Yana's work for a while now, and really enjoy her approach to portraiture, so I was excited to get a chance to speak with her about her journey with photography. So I hope you enjoy, and thanks so much for listening. All right. Well, now welcome on Yana Yatsuk. Excited to talk to you. Been following along your work on Instagram for a while now. But I guess to start off, we're about a month into the new year. How's everything going for you? Have you been working, shooting, or what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, I've been lucky to have work kind of coming back in. Definitely been like a rough year with that, but yeah, I've been doing some like editorial stuff, and that's pretty much
That's good.
it. Some just magazine stuff essentially, and then a few like little gigs here and there.
Are you someone that like sets goals for yourself like at the beginning of the new year? Like some people set goals like for their work or whatever. Do you kind of do that stuff at all, kind of with your photography at all? Or are you kind of more kind of go with the flow?
I don't. I'm kind of like a pessimist. It's so bad to say, but no, not really.
Yeah.
I'm Slav. I'm Ukrainian, so like I think I grew up very. I don't know. We're just like not that optimistic.
No, that's how I feel about photography. I feel like anytime I go like a period of time without a job, I'm like, I guess my career is over. I better start looking for something.
Literally like every other day. I'm like, will I ever work again? I don't know. Probably not. Yeah, it happens all the time. And I don't really trust myself because I'm always like have plans and I have all these ideas, and then it's just like, So I just don't do it to myself anymore.
I like it. It seems like it's been working. You've been doing some cool stuff with the Rolling Stone, and but I did notice I was interested in talking to you about. You've been doing a series during the pandemic. You've been doing like virtual shoots, and you kind of been photographing like your laptop. I was kind of how's that been going? I'll pull it up. People can look. Or I guess we're not.
Another reason why I don't set goals for myself. I started that like at the very beginning of COVID, and then I've shot a lot of people. I was trying to do the same people outside of their house and through the computer. I think I just like saw a lot of people doing similar stuff, and so I got a little like I got like less excited about it because it also took me forever to put out, and we're just hard on myself. And then
I mean, hats off. I haven't dabbled in any of that virtual stuff. I kind of I think it's just been a weird year. Like, have you still been like inspired to make personal work? I know myself for a while, I just felt kind of lost because it's like I shoot a lot of people, so I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now? It's like with the virus.
No, totally. I think that's such a like misconception during all this time is like everyone was like, oh, we have all this time and no one's working and we're gonna like create the thing we've always wanted to create. And I just don't think I think people just put a lot of pressure on themselves, and like I think it's okay to kind of like settle into not being inspired all the time and like letting it hit when it does. And I don't think it comes at convenient times anyways. So
no, you can't force it. It just kind of happens when it happens. But I guess to go back, I was kind of curious, like where you grew up and like how do you kind of first discover photography?
Okay, I was like nervous about this question. Like, how did I? So I was born in Ukraine, in a small town in the West, and we immigrated to New York originally, but I grew up in Atlanta, like outside of Atlanta. And then moved to New York when I was 16, and then moved to LA when I was 17, and I've just been in LA ever since. I guess what got me into photography. This is gonna sound like so ridiculous, but I swear to God, it was Pokemon Snap on Nintendo 64.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, that's a first. I've interviewed 200 people. I like it. Pokemon. All right, let's go.
I'm like not even gonna lie. Like I think that's what did it for me.
What was
You're
that?
like judged. There's like this whole like process where you're like judged on like the shot and the exposure, like everything. There's like this whole thing.
All right. Were you like deep into Pokemon as a kid, like the cards and everything?
Yeah, I loved Pokemon. I honestly didn't trade cards. I was just kind of like a hoarder. I just collected all of them. And my dad like worked at a kiosk at the mall for a while, and he would like bring me back like decks of cards. So I had so many good ones.
I never got into Pokemon, but was it? I don't know much about it. Was it like a game? Because I know like Magic, the other card thing that people collected, and I think that was like an actual game. But was Pokemon was it more this kind of like collecting baseball cards, or was there like a game element to it too?
There was a game element to it, but I fully treated it like collecting baseball cards.
All
I
right.
was just like, I just collected as many as I could, and I didn't want to like participate in any kind of like competition when it came down to it.
Yeah.
Unless it was like me and my Nintendo 64 against no one.
That's interesting. Yeah, the Pokemon's coming back hard. I just saw that crazy YouTube dude, Logan Paul. He just bought $2 million of original Pokemon packs. Like he would buy like a whole box that like all the like 20 packs in a box. He spent $2 million. Each box, it was like original set, was like between like $400,000 and $500,000. It's
No.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I did have a friend tell me that they're worth something now, and I do still have like my binder somewhere at my mom's house in Atlanta.
All right.
So
Hey, that might be your retirement plan right
the rest
there.
of my career.
I like it. I like it. But I guess when did you kind of actually pick up a real camera outside of the Pokemon and start taking some pictures?
Like that is a real camera. I'm just kidding. I when I was young, we had like a little. I still have it. Olympus Stylus Epic.
Mm-hmm.
And that was definitely like, I would remember that being my first time. And I went through this whole phase of like photographing all my toys. And then I got in so much trouble because we were really poor at the time, like growing up and stuff. And I remember my mom went to Walmart to get them all developed. And she got everything as like doubles.
Oh, man.
And there were just like, I think there were like 10 rolls of film. And they were all of my stuffed animals. And I got in so much trouble that I like did not pick up a camera again for years.
Wow.
It took me so long. So that's how it first started. And then I don't know, just like shooting film for fun here and there. And I was lucky enough to like travel with a lot of friends who were kind of in like the travel early Instagram kind of days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have a nice camera, so I would like use my little like Minolta or my iPhone, and I got really good at editing on my iPhone. And yeah, I guess that kind of like evolved into wanting to shoot people because I think I love nature so much, and it's such a getaway for me that I kind of like I wanted to separate the two things.
Definitely.
And I think it's fun to tell people stories, if you can.
And did you ever like take any photo classes, or do you kind of teach yourself along the way pretty much?
No, I'm an idiot. I like taught myself on film, which was
no, that's good. Trial and error.
No, I had a friend who was like, my friend Jared was like, please buy a digital camera. It'll save you so much money. And it sounded like such a big investment at the time. And now I like look back and I'm like, okay, yeah, he was totally right because I spent so much on film. But it taught me a lot.
No, definitely. And you were just kind of shooting like color print film pretty much at the time?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of I was doing portraiture, and then I was dating a guy for a while, and I would like shoot his band a lot. So I think that was like honestly where I learned the most, because you're put into a situation where it's like the light is constantly changing. You just have to, you have to be really quick. It's like half a second and everything's different, and your shots can be super overexposed or whatever. That's where I would say I learned like the quickest was like kind of touring and doing that for fun. And yeah.
And when did you like start thinking you would like want to pursue this as a career? Did you always have goals of shooting for like magazines and commercial stuff, or was there a point when you tried to start taking it more seriously, or like how did you kind of turn it into a job, I guess?
Um, it took a long time. I mean, honestly, I was like working at a restaurant for like 7 years, and I started bartending. And there was like a point, maybe like the last year that I was bartending, I mean, I was shooting pretty regularly, and I was making more shooting than I was bartending, but I was still really scared to like,
Make the
you know
jump.
how it is, to just like take the leap of faith in like yourself.
Definitely.
So yeah, just like, I think just years of being like, all right, like I think it's time, and then finally eventually kind of just like took the leap.
That's awesome. And like, who were kind of some of the first clients you started working with once you kind of started to actually start make some money from your photography, I guess?
Um, I naturally like fell into the like music world. I think a lot of my friends were musicians, and then I was touring a lot, and was lucky enough to just like meet really incredible people who are so talented and were just fun to shoot. And then and yeah, I guess I would get like little random magazine stuff like through that, and then would get hired on by the bands. Um, or like photos would be bought that I just like took randomly or whatever it was, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it pretty much started like that. More so like labels and bands were like the first clients really.
What were kind of some of your favorite like music artists like growing up and stuff? And was talking to you, it seems like music was always kind of part of your photography from the get go. It sounds like
Yeah. I mean, I love music.
Kiss. You got the Kiss shirt on right now.
I know I have a Kiss shirt on.
Yeah, I like it.
Like talking about Pokemon on my Kiss shirt. This is my life.
I think it froze there for a sec. Yeah, I was just saying, look at your work. Groundhog's Day. Yeah, looking at your work, obviously you
I
shoot
know, right?
a lot of music. What was kind of some of your favorite kind of musicians growing up and bands and whatnot?
Um, Again.
Yeah, sorry.
Growing, no, it's okay. I would say my taste is like all over the place. I think growing up in Atlanta, I always loved like rap and R&B. And then I also was like obsessed with Tool to be but then my mom like loved listening to like jazz and like Joe Dassin and like, stuff like that. So growing up it was like all over the place. I guess it's still all over the place, but um I love like R.L. Burnside and like Loudon Wainwright and Mississippi Fred McDowell and Veloso and Mulatu Astatke, and I don't know. I'm all over the place.
No, it's great. And like when you first started photographing musicians and bands and stuff, was that like intimidating at first, or were you kind of always comfortable just kind of working with people and photographing people, or was it ever intimidating kind of starting out?
I don't think it was starting out. I think I don't know. Just people are human, you
Yeah.
know. I'm never really like I've definitely had my moments of being intimidated, of course, but I think early days I was just kind of like everyone I worked with, they were already friends, so it was just I was lucky in that way where I just got to like build people up the best I could that were already people I loved and like respected, and um yeah, it was fairly natural, I would say, like
Yeah.
early days.
Yeah, no doubt. And yeah, because it's cool looking at your work. You do a lot of different stuff. Like obviously you do like portraiture, but then you have some cool like live concert kind of photos and kind of more like reportage stuff. Like when you're photographing like live music, like how do you kind of approach like shooting those shows? Because it is a real skill to shoot like live shows and make it like visually compelling. I think it's a real skill.
Yeah, I would say my rule of thumb with live shows is don't shoot the first three songs.
Okay, why is that?
Because so technically it's just like it's the access everyone has, right? So it's like anyone can be in the pit the first three songs. So I usually try to I don't know, I've never understood that. I thought that was such a weird rule because it's like
Yeah.
everyone's just getting warmed up,
Yeah.
and I want people like sweating and like jumping off, like just I want people like fully in it, like losing it. I don't
want
want
that
people
grit.
like,
You want that grit.
yeah, I'm like, I don't want them all like pretty, right, straight from like their outfit and their hair and makeup. Like I don't know. I prefer it later in the set, I would say for sure. And then, yeah, just whatever feels right in the moment, like either, being on stage, being in the pit, getting in the crowd, like whatever in that moment, I guess, makes sense. Climbing stuff, getting kicked off of stuff.
Yeah, it's getting after it. I
Climbing it
like
again.
and with the portraiture stuff, you do a really amazing portraits. And how do you kind of approach portrait, like editorial assignments and things like that? Like, do you go into like every shoot kind of with a plan of like how you want to execute it, or do you kind of just let stuff kind of happen naturally with kind of collaborating with your subjects, or like how do you approach like a editorial portrait shoot, I guess?
I think it depends. Sometimes you're not really given much like to start with, you're just kind of like, all right, you're going to show up at this person's house at this time, and hopefully the light is good, and like hopefully there's somewhere to shoot. And a lot of times it's pretty like you're walking in pretty blindly. Like you're not really getting like location. You don't really know the location off the bat most of the time. And then sometimes if you have more control, then I plan out a little more, but I'm not really one to like try to plan too much. Like I hate to say the word hate, but I just like, I don't love like shot lists or like, let's try to do this. 'Cause I don't know. I think you can like waste your time trying to like do something that's already been done, when in reality, if you're kind of walking into a situation blindly, hopefully, I mean, obviously depending on the circumstance, like, I don't know, you and your subject will create something based off like the energy exchanged in that moment, and like whatever happens naturally, I guess. Because even if you try to force like a specific plan, like most of the time the shot you're going to love is not going to be within that plan.
Definitely. Yeah, that is like the interesting, like, because you ever had shoots where you going into it and like, some people aren't comfortable being photographed, or they might be nervous, or maybe they don't even want to be there at all. Like, how do you kind of deal with those like difficult, tougher shoots where it might take a little more to get something out of your subject, I guess?
I love that
Oh,
stuff.
really? Like you like the challenge?
I love it. I also think that it's like, I think I just really appreciate anyone who's on the other side, like I recognize that it's like an extremely vulnerable place to be. And it's, yeah, you're kind of like, that person is trusting me, so it's like up to me to then like whatever time it takes for them to feel comfortable, like I'm kind of there for the journey with them. And yeah, I like it. I like when, I also like love when people are uncomfortable and like awkward, because it's human. And
Yeah,
I kind of like, I love shooting those moments.
definitely. It keeps
And
it
then
like,
also get into the moment where like you see them kind of like loosen up. But I think that like those two things together are really like, I don't know, special.
and being that you're obviously a big fan of music and stuff, when you're shooting people, do you play music on your sets a lot, or at all? Do you do that much?
Yeah, I'll play music on my sets for sure.
Yeah,
I,
kind of.
I probably won't do like jazz and blues, but yeah, I'll play music on sets for sure.
Nice. And one thing I was kind of curious about, like, did it kind of take you a while to kind of find your voice as a photographer? Like looking at your work, you do. I love I love your color stuff too, but your black and white stuff to me is the thing that I really enjoy. Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, and did it kind of take you a while to kind of find your voice as a photographer? And like, do you think it's important to have like a distinct style, like when you're trying to work editorially and things like that, I guess?
I don't, I mean, I do and I don't. I think that it's really nice to hear you say that, because I feel like I always look at my stuff and I'm like, damn, I wish I had like something specific. Like, I wish I had a theme that was specific. And I feel like I wish, but it's like, you obviously don't know how other people see your stuff.
Yeah.
But I always feel like my stuff's like all over the place and like doesn't make, I don't know, isn't cohesive. But no, I think both. I think it's I know some people that have like a very distinct style of like whether that's something they do in post or just like the stuff they gravitate towards shooting. And I'm always like, oh, I wish I had that because it's so good when you can like see someone's work and you're like, I know exactly who that is based on the way that their whites are, you know, or like the way their shadows or whatever it is. Like I think that's such a cool skill to have.
I would say you have that though, because I want to look at your black and whites. It's like you it seems like you really like rich blacks, like deep, like kind of blacks, and like a lot of the stuff. And that's like that's the type of work I like myself too. And like obviously you do shoot a lot of different stuff, music and kind of like some fashion and like fine art stuff. But when I look at it, still has the same kind of touch to all of it, you know.
That's so nice. It's so nice to hear. I really appreciate that. Yeah, but I feel opposite, but thank you. That's kind. Yeah, I feel like it's important, but then also like I think it's cool to kind of just like I'm always like inspired by different like things, whether it's like something I learned in post or whatever it is, you know. I think it's cool to just put different things in your hands and like kind of see what happens.
And will you like share work with like other fellow photographer friends to get like input at all, like when you're trying to edit your work, or do you kind of just kind of do your own thing, or how do you approach like? Because that's one thing I struggle with. Is like editing my either my printed portfolio or my website. And the longer you shoot, you compile more and more pictures, and it's like, how do I make sense of all this? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll usually do it on my own. I've had there was a woman, Teresa, who helped me a bit when it came to like portfolio stuff, and she really helped me like narrow down. I'm still learning from it all the time. I'm not good at it by any means, but yeah, I'm you're not alone in that. You're definitely not alone in that. I hate updating my website. I hate doing my portfolio. I hate making selects. It's just hard. It's so hard, especially with digital now. Like I prefer film, but you know, when you have clients that want you to shoot digital, you have to go through so much stuff. And so it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. What's it about?
Depending on your mood, it can be completely different.
Yeah, definitely. I almost feel like I mean, I still have a website, but I don't know about you. I feel like my Instagram is kind of like turned into my website. Like I talk to so many photo editors. There's like photo editors like reach out to me on Instagram, or like either you can see them looking at your stories, and it's almost I feel like almost I have to take my Instagram more serious than my website sometimes now, you know?
Yeah, totally. That totally makes sense.
But I hate social media. I'm looking forward to the time when I'm like, if I ever like when I'm older, it's like delete all of it.
Oh, I know. Aren't we all? Same. Love-hate relationship.
Definitely. And you know, I was really excited to talk to you. You shot the cover of Rolling Stone, legends, Ringo, Starr, Dave Grohl. I was curious kind of how your experience was working on that cover, and what was kind of your approach kind of going into that shoot, I guess.
Okay. When you originally reached out, you like reached out about that, and I was like, he's gonna be so disappointed. And my answer to this, well, first, I mean, I was so lucky. I got a call from Katrina from Rolling Stone, and yeah, she definitely like she told me over the phone, and she was like, yeah, what are you doing? And like, I don't even know, it was like 4 or 5 days or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm available. And then she told me, and I fully just like got completely silent. I was like, wait, are you sure?
You got the wrong number. You got the right number.
Yeah, I think you're confused. But she's so sweet, and like, I don't know, I could gush forever and ever about Rolling Stone and everyone there. I know you've interviewed like Sasha and Joe, and
yep.
I mean, literally every single person that I've like gotten to work with, every editor, I can safely say they're like my favorite. They're like the kindest, realest, most, yeah, they're just awesome. I just love them.
They seem like pretty like photographer, like artist friendly. They kind of let you kind of do your thing, right?
Yeah, and they're all just like so talented and so humble and just kind and patient, and yeah, they're the best. They're literally the best.
What was the first? We'll get back to the Ringo thing, but what was the first assignment you did for Rolling Stone? Do you remember?
Yes, I do. Because I thought it was a fake email. I was like, this is not real. I cried for like a few hours, and then I was like, no, this can't be real. Like, no, no, no. And then eventually,
Yeah.
yeah, I was really excited. Joe reached out to me originally, who's amazing, and he had me shoot. It was for their women's issue 3 years ago, actually. So it's like my little 3-year anniversary coming up.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was 3 years ago for the women's issue, and it was with Teddy Geiger,
Mm-hmm.
who's now like a close friend. And yeah, and that she was really funny because I like fully had a mental breakdown and called Joe probably like the day the photos were due or something.
Why? What was going wrong, or what was kind of stressing you out?
I was like, I called him and I was like, I want to redo the whole thing. And he was just like, what? I don't know if it was, maybe it was Sasha actually. I can't remember who I spoke to in that moment. I feel like maybe it was actually Sasha. But yeah, I ended up fully reshooting it. And I shot one roll of film, and they chose a photo from that, which was really cool.
Wow.
And I just styled her myself, and we just shot it in my studio, and it was great.
That's awesome. Was like Rolling Stone somewhere where you kind of like actively like kind of like showing your work to them like regularly to hopefully get in the mix, or like how did they kind of discover you, I guess?
I don't really know how they discovered me. I definitely am not one to like send my work, which I know I should. I know that's like what you're supposed to do. But no, I never approached them or anything. I think I've been following Sasha for a little while because you've seen his work.
That's incredible.
It's insane. He's so ridiculous. Yeah, I think I was already following his work. We had some mutual friends, and like his live stuff is just so incredible. So I was already a fan. And then I don't know, maybe through that, like maybe through Instagram or
Yeah.
But Joe was the first, I believe, to reach out, and so I don't really know how.
I like it. I like the way you roll, Yana. You're just going with the flow, man. It just happened. I like it. And you kind of touched on a point. Like I think, I mean, I would hope a lot of people can relate to this. Is that like sometimes you shoot something, you go in with the best intentions, but then you leave the shoot, and you feel like, what did I do? Like that first shoot, like you had to redo it. And it's like, do you feel like even now, like looking at your website, like you've shot all these, you got the cover of Rolling Stone, cover of Flaunt, doing all these cool assignments, but even now as a photographer, sometimes you still fail sometimes, right?
Oh my God, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I think that my, like, once I started doing kind of more like portraiture stuff, more assignment stuff, I think I walked into all of those situations wanting to create something iconic, right? Mm-hmm. So I would put that pressure on myself constantly. And then you get into those situations, and a lot of times you have limited time, a location you would normally not gravitate towards. And, talent could be having a bad day. They could not want to be there. It's just, you just have to like take it as it comes. And like, I think it's important to like take that pressure off of yourself, of like going into every situation and being like, I want to make something iconic, because I think that's what I would do to myself a lot. And then I finally came to terms with the fact that like it's just based on like circumstance, and like not every situation you're going to walk away from feeling like, I never walk away feeling like I did my best. I literally, every time I walk away from a shoot, I'm like, I could have done this and this and this and this and this. And then like the next week I'll like think about every little thing I could have done differently. But it's just, just doing your best, and like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm on the same pessimistic mind frame as you. I'm like, I suck. I look at them like, these people are good, man. What am I doing?
After every single shoot, I'm literally like, I'm never gonna get hired again. Rolling Stone's never gonna call me. This like, I do that. You're not alone in that. Like, I do that constantly.
No, it's good to hear. Back to the big Rolling Stone cover, because getting to shoot Ringo Starr, one of the freaking Beatles, and Dave Grohl, that's like serious musical legends, I guess. What was kind of your approach to that shoot, and like, I guess were you happy with the results, I guess?
Yeah. So sorry, it's a fire truck going by.
It's all right.
I mean, so Katrina called me and asked me to do it. I had like a meltdown, like a low key meltdown once I hung up the phone, and I was really nervous. You know, I normally, like, to be honest, I don't really get too nervous, but to be like a young woman too, like in a position with like two older men who are like they're legends, you know, they're industry legends, and I obviously like I don't know. I was just like, what? How am I? You know, like I was really humbled and grateful to be in that position. But went into the shoot. You know, we had one location we could shoot at, based on like Ringo.
Mm-hmm.
And to be completely honest, like I got there, maybe like I scouted the location because it was, you know, there was one suite. That's the suite we were shooting in, and it's like,
Yep.
you gotta work with it. Got there. The aesthetic of it was very just like not what I would normally want to shoot. So I saw a bathtub and I was like, all right, like, how do I make this look like a studio? So I like got there like in 2 hours before the shoot and like cut up a piece of like a seamless. I cut up a seamless, I put it up against the wall. And then was just like met them and was like, hey Ringo, you're getting into a bathtub. And he was like, he was definitely not having it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I spent 2 hours like cutting up the seamless and making it fit. So like you're gonna get in the bathtub.
Oh man.
It's gonna happen. Like it has to happen. But it was amazing. I mean, that was an incredible experience, and I was like so lucky to get to do that. But I mean, not even gonna lie, I definitely like blacked out the whole shoot.
Yeah.
And I like Ringo was like telling stories about John Lennon, and I'm just like, I can't even say I remember anything he said because I was just fully blacked out.
Yeah, it's like hard to focus. I think I feel like sometimes I try not to do it anymore, but probably earlier on, like I would feel like rushed in a shoot. Like I'm like, don't want to take someone too much of their time or something like that. Like I don't know. You ever feel that way on shoots? That's something I've definitely struggled with earlier on. Is this being like almost like too nice, where I almost like rush through the shoot rather than being like, oh, take my time and do a better job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, you know, I would say both. I sometimes
Yeah.
you have to, you know, like with the Ringo and Grohl shoot, that whole entire shoot was 2 locations and it was 14 minutes.
14 minutes. Wow, you did the bathtub and the backdrop in. Damn, yeah. You see,
my alarm went off for the first location. I was supposed to have 30 minutes, and it's just like PR, you know, like PR gets involved and it sometimes becomes difficult, but they're just, you know, they're doing their job.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my alarm for the first location went off at the second location, and because I completely zoned out,
Yeah,
I looked at my assistant and I was just like, wait, was that? And he was like, yeah, it was. And I was like, wait, what? How did that happen? Yeah.
and when like going into that, like you knew it was gonna be a cover, and like you're shooting them on the backdrop. Do you have like poses in mind, like going into it, like how you want them to pose, or is it really just they kind of do what they want to do in front of the camera, pretty much? Or how did you approach that aspect of it?
I mean, I think with them, it was definitely like that was a unique experience because there's moments where like Ringo's talking and you're trying to like say something, and then it's like it's there's moments where it's hard to find that space of like, you know, trying to communicate.
It's like, hey Ringo, look at the camera, man.
Yeah, I'm like, just let him talk. It's Ringo. Like, when am I going to listen to Ringo talk again? You know. No, but there were definitely like Katrina had some ideas going into it that we approached towards the end, which ended up being the cover.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of just like with the two of them, I think that they have so much history and like dynamic between them that it's kind of it was kind of nice approaching it as more of like a fly on the wall the best I could. Especially with limited time. So it's like they're getting warmed up to seeing one another. They haven't seen each other in a while. They're like, you know, being comfortable together. So then when you're like kind of getting their attention, it kind of loses it sometimes. Like I feel like the moments that I got their attention, like I would kind of lose some of those more like intimate interactions between the two of them.
Yeah.
So I guess just trying to find that balance within that time frame.
Yeah, it's like a fine line. Like you want them to be like happy and comfortable with what they're doing, but then you still got to do your thing and not like piss them off, I guess, somewhat.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's like it's a fine line.
Yeah.
And I noticed they did like a Rolling Stone did a cool like little behind the scenes video of the shoot, and I did notice you did shoot film and I think digital on that shoot. Is that kind of your normal workflow, shooting film and digital on most of your assignments, I guess?
Yeah, I always do both. I do 35, 120, and sometimes Polaroid, and also digital.
Yeah, no, you did
I'm like
shoot.
a crazy person with like 60 cameras like around my neck, and I'm just like, why do I do this to myself? It's so unnecessary. It's always me. I'm like throwing things and like losing stuff, and I have like way too many cameras. It just doesn't.
Hey, keeps it fun and interesting, right?
I guess so, but then people are like, "Do you need help?" I'm like, "Not good. I'm actually good. I know I look crazy."
What are like your favorite film cameras to shoot with, I guess?
Definitely I'm not really like very technical, but I would say based on like what I've tried and what I've shot with I would say the RZ67, the Pro.
Thing's a beast. That thing's a tank.
It's so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My focus is always just like a little off.
Yeah.
Just in general, I feel like in life. Like with all my
Isn't that the worst when you're trying to get the eyeball, but then you get like right below the eyelash? And it's
oh my God, every time. I'm like, oh, like if you squint, it's in focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it about film? Because it seems like, I mean, I grew up shooting film. I don't really shoot it too much anymore, just like here and there, but it's been interesting, like talking to some different editors and stuff lately. Like seems like more and more people are like shooting film, and like even for assignments and stuff. What kind of keeps you wanting to shoot film, I guess?
I mean, I always gravitate like if there's an option to shoot film, and if there's like budget to shoot film, or even if there's not really. I just think it's really forgiving.
Yeah.
You know, I think film's like soft and forgiving, and I have this like, I don't know, for some reason I'm like the type of person where like I don't always want to like upgrade my stuff when it comes to digital, because it feels too like I've never like I appreciate like the whole Sony stuff.
Yep.
Whatever, A7, is that what it is? That like that's it, right?
I'm the same way. I don't buy shit until it breaks.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I'm also like, I feel like those cameras are so good and they're so sharp that I feel like I'm like walking into a Best Buy, and I'm like, you know, when you see everybody on the TV and like you just like see them way too clear.
Well, it's like, remember when Blu-ray was, I don't even know if people watch Blu-rays anymore, but I remember the first time I saw Blu-ray, it like almost gave me like a headache because it was like too sharp. And
Yes.
And that's what the Sony was like, because I used one of my buddies one time, and I just to test it out, and it was like the same thing. I was like, whoa, this is like way too much. I was like, I don't know.
Totally. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm like walking into a Best Buy and everything's like Blu-ray or like HD, and I like don't believe the actors because they're like too real. Like I like a little bit of like, I don't know.
Do you find like subjects, do subjects, are they interested in like when you're shooting film? Do you find like people reacted, you know, 'cause sometimes photographers say like subjects will react different to like different cameras, or do subjects ever ask you about it shooting film, I guess?
Yeah, you know, sometimes they'll be like, oh, can I see it? And I'm like, no, I wish you could, but you can't. That's part of why I do this, so I'm not distracted, you know, because it like takes time when that happens a lot. But yeah, I think with film people get a little, you know, it's like you get such limited shots that like I feel like there's like that little bit of awkwardness that happens that I really love personally.
Yeah.
Where people are kind of like, wait, are you getting the shot? Like, why are, you know, and they'll like stay still and they'll think that they're like holding it.
Yeah.
And then they'll get like a little irked, and then they'll move, and then I'll get it, you know? So it's like, I kind of like that bit of, I think it creates a little bit of tension, which I love.
No, definitely. That's interesting. And another thing, like on your website, you kind of mentioned like kind of the focus of your work is obviously music. Then it says like fashion and like fine art. Like, what is it about like fashion, like photography that kind of what do you enjoy about it? And like, how do you kind of approach that type of work, I guess?
Um, I wouldn't say I book a ton of fashion stuff, but I do appreciate it. I think with fashion, I'm very picky. I definitely like know what I like and I know what I don't like. Um, I appreciate fashion as like an art within itself, like design is such a,
Hmm.
it's a beautiful art and on its own. Um, but I think I kind of like don't really do a lot of fashion unless I know I can pull like great stuff or if I have access to like amazing things. So I don't know.
And
Does
how
that make sense?
No, no, I was just interested by I cause personally like I that's like one realm of like photography I don't know a lot about. And I know there's just like such a rich history in like fashion photography. And I guess the thing I was curious about, do you feel like when you're shooting like a fashion like type style work, like I know you did the cover of Flaunt with Anna Diarmas, do you feel like there's like a different approach to shooting like fashion style work versus like your like music photography, or do you kind of view your approach kind of the similar, I guess?
I think I think I try to keep it similar. I think when it's like celebrity fashion, it does like tend to fall a bit more into like the commercial realm, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, just naturally, I think, you know. Um, but I think I approach it essentially the same way, unless it comes down to like advertisers or whatever that is, and you have to like work within those guidelines as well. Um, but I try to kind of just approach it all the same.
Are you like
Yeah.
when you're photographing with someone who's like a known person, are you like do you do a lot of research on people at all, or do you kind of just go into it blind and just kind of
No, I definitely do research. I'm really bad with names, and I never like I'm so bad. But yeah, I'll definitely like do my Googling a lot like
yeah,
beforehand. But I think I have like a cap. Like I don't want to know too much because I want to know like what they're working on, what they're excited about, but I also want to go into the situation and like get to know someone outside of like what the media or outside of what's presented as them, because like there's so much more to humans than like what's presented in those ways and what you can like research. So I think just doing it, but also having like a certain cap where you don't really like dive too deep in.
yeah, you still want to have like a genuine conversation and connection with the person like when you're
Yeah.
actually there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I still want to like get to know them and like, get to know their life and I don't, sometimes walking in and already like knowing that you don't want to like have, yeah, you just want to, it's kind of nice to like walk in a little more blind
Definitely.
sometimes.
And were there like any photographers work that you kind of admired like starting out or even now, or like any photographers that you kind of whose work kind of influenced you at all, you think?
Um, I don't know about necessarily like influence, but I mean, I appreciate so many photographers. Bruce Davidson, William Eggleston, Gordon Parks.
You're friends with that dude, Merrick Morton, right?
Oh my God, Merrick!
That dude's work so good. Anybody listen, go. I'll
So
link.
much.
He's a badass photographer.
He is such a legend.
Yeah.
He is such a legend. I had coffee with him maybe like a few months ago, and he like brought a few of his portfolios for me to go through, and I was sitting there and I was just like, be chill, be chill. And I'm just like flipping through it and I'm like, you shot this? And I'm like, you shot this? Like he shot everything.
Yeah.
Like he is such a legend and he's like telling me stories and I'm just like, this is crazy that this is casual.
Yeah.
He has such wild stories and like just like I mean, from he was shooting like gang culture in LA and then also like
All the movies.
yeah, all the movies, but then also shooting with like on assignment with like the LAPD, but also avoiding certain parts of town, like
Hmm.
because of the gangs he was involved in. Like the man has like so much depth and like so much he's done and experienced, and he's like He's amazing. You
Yeah.
should interview.
No, definitely. I'm trying. I'm gonna get him on here one of these
Yeah,
times.
incredible.
For sure. And what else was I gonna add? Oh, I did my research. I checked out your LinkedIn. I saw
Oh
your
no!
yeah, I do my research.
Oh fuck!
You
I forgot I had a LinkedIn.
you do, I don't know if you still do, but you have an interest in acting, I think, right?
No,
It says you're a SAG member. I don't know if that's real.
I am in SAG. I have not paid my dues in many years. No, I have no interest in acting. I actually like. I mean, even like doing this, I was like so nervous. I'm weird with like attention or like I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
just makes me comfortable. Um, but no, I did acting for like a few years back in the day. But I just like did the classes. I wasn't like when it came down to actually like doing it and like competing, I guess, or like that part of it, I was like, no, not
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, it seems like a tough world,
Yeah.
for sure.
But I do think it's like a really smart thing for a lot of people to do because it helped me a lot with, you're just like standing up in front of rooms of people you don't know and having to be extremely vulnerable. And I think it's a really amazing craft. And I think something literally everyone should do is like acting classes.
Yeah, because you gotta like, I like almost like I had another photographer who said they did improv classes because it's like
Ooh,
you have to
yeah.
like think on the spot. Because I mean, like the more and more you do this, like I'm sure like some of the shoots you're doing are getting bigger and bigger, and you're the boss, and you have to be able to like direct either your assistants or the talent and everyone else. Is that something you've always been comfortable with? Is kind of running the ship, and does it feel like something you get better at the more you do it? You think?
I think that like I'm definitely very direct. Like I'm very direct in what I like and don't like, and I'm not good at like pretending. So I
Yeah,
think that's like beneficial in some ways, not
definitely,
always.
definitely.
Um, but like people will know if I'm like into something or not into something. Like I'm very obvious and cannot hide it. um, but yeah, I think that like I do think that acting classes helped in that way, right? Where you're on the other side. So you empathize with like the amount of vulnerability it takes.
Yep.
And then on top of it, like, you can like, you can get in there and kind of like do the movements you want them to try. And if the shoot calls for that, and yeah, I think it's definitely helpful. It was helpful in that way for sure.
Oh, cool. And I guess to wrap up, like, what are you kind of interested in photographically these days? Like anything that's kind of got you inspired right now? Obviously, it's kind of a weird time with the pandemic still going on.
Yeah.
There's definitely some hurdles to make work, but you can still do it. But what's kind of got you interested right now?
Um, I think just like the idea of like traveling again one day.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Oh my God, I hope. I like I've only been back to Ukraine once since we immigrated, and I wasn't doing photography really at the time. So I think like the main thing I really look forward to is like being able to like dive in now that I'm like in it and like photographing like where I'm from and like the culture. And there's so many amazing, there's like this boxing gym and club inside this mall that like my mom's first boyfriend like trains all these kids at, and I want to shoot them. And like there's so many like
Yeah,
little things within like my country that I would like love to.
you still got a lot of family out there.
Yeah, all my extended family.
Do you photograph? See, some photographers are really good at photographing their family. Is that something you like actively do, like photograph your family? I struggle with it. I'm better at photographing strangers, to be honest, than photographing
I'm
my.
better at photographing strangers too, but I did recently, last time I was in New York, my grandma lives in Brooklyn, and I got her like fully topless like in her kitchen,
Yeah.
which was like amazing. And she was like so funny. She was over it within like 2 shots. She was like, "We're done." I'm like, "No, you're not done." And then she like called my dad, and she was like, "Your daughter got me naked." And like, I was like, "You be careful, because next time you're gonna fully be naked." But no, it's amazing to get to shoot your family like in vulnerable settings, and like that comfort level is also you don't really get that a lot. So it's like to shoot your family, like they trust you. So it's like if you're putting them in situations that are vulnerable,
Yeah.
I mean, you would hope that they trust you and know that you like only want the best for them, and to, you know, highlight them in the most positive way, and or in the most authentic way, not even necessarily positive. Yeah, I've been lucky to shoot my grandma, my great grandmother a little bit before she passed, and my dad. I don't really shoot my mom as much as I would love to, but
Yeah.
she's one of those people. She hasn't quite like let me in yet.
Okay. Oh, you'll break it down.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
There's that challenge we were talking about earlier.
my goal for the year.
Yeah, get one, at least one good portrait of moms, and yeah, there you go.
Yep. Gotta get mom vulnerable.
Definitely. Well, Yana, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this.
Thank
It was a
you.
real pleasure. Like I said, I've been following work on Instagram. It's like real inspiring stuff. So I can't thank you enough for doing this, So there you have it. That was the Yana Yatsuk interview. I just want to thank Yana so much for taking the time to come on the podcast. It was a real pleasure talking to her about everything she's done with her photography and how she approaches her assignments, and just a really amazing work. Big fan of her work, so can't thank her enough. Definitely go check out Yana's work at yanayatsuk.com, as well as Instagram at Yana Yatsuk. I'll put the links in the description, but definitely give her a follow. She's always posting cool work she's doing. And as always, I'll be having weekly podcasts every week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as the Photo Banter YouTube page. So definitely go check us out on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, as it'd be much appreciated. And as always, thanks so much for listening, and take care.